an absolutely stunning afternoon here at one of the most beautiful racing venues you can imagine, called America's National Park of Speed, Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. It is time for the 11th round of the Pirelli GT4 America's Sprint Championship, third race of what has been a very, very busy weekend. As we had to cancel some races earlier in the year due to the pandemic, these third races are makeup races, and they have proven to be some of the more entertaining of the races that we're experiencing as well. So lots of fun to be had here, and we're looking forward to that one. I do think, as we take a look at this LaSalle Solutions number 66 Racers Group Racing Series Wines Porsche, Cal, it's going to be tough to beat what we watched in that second race yesterday.
It was simply magic, and Spencer Pumpelly did what he absolutely had to do. He had to get the better of Michael Cooper, who's on quite a streak, who's won 6 consecutive runs there, and he had to break that momentum that Michael had, and he made a brilliant move and made it stick and cut into the points lead a little bit.
Yeah, he did that indeed, and you know, the interesting story here, well, we'll talk more about that in just a minute as we look at Drew Stavely's car, but what we want to do is give you a look at this absolutely remarkable 4-mile facility, and one of the GT World's young guns is going to give you a tour.
Hello, this is Maxwell Root, and we are at Road America. This is your Porsche track preview. We're approaching turn 1 here. 6th gear, we're looking for the access road, braking right after that. Down to 3rd gear, focusing on rolling the speed, opening our hands, and using all of the road on the way out. This is an important turn, setting up for turn 3. We're braking right at the 150 board. Down to 2nd gear, opening our hands and really maximizing the exit here, as it's one of the most important straightaways of the track. As we're going onto the bridge, it's a good place to look for your competitors behind you if you're racing, or to take a drink and prepare for the next laps ahead. We're going to be looking for the 2 board and to turn 5, down to 2nd gear, slowing the rotation and opening our hands as we drive up the hill to the bridge. We're going to be braking right under the bridge, down to 2nd gear, and opening our hands to set up for a fast sweeper in turn 7. Small breather on the throttle, but back in it quick. All the access road here on the way out. Turn 8's important. We're going to go down to 2nd gear, braking at the 2 board, and really setting up for a successful carousel. We're going to swing the car to the left, drive it in deep, and then balancing it on the front and rear axle as we're looking for all the grip in the track, opening our hands and feeding in the power as we shift up to 5th gear and look towards the kink. We're going to be just taking a small breather at that 100 board, but staying the throttle committed on the back straightaway here, up to 6th gear, really setting up for a successful Canada corner. It's a difficult part of the track. 3 board down to 2nd gear, opening our hands for a successful rotation and out of the corner. As we approach Billy Mitchell, small breather here, just like the kink. All the access road on the way out, and 14, one of the most important corners. Be slow on the way in and mega exit to set up for a successful straightaway. Thank you.
That's an absolutely spectacular ride. What I love about Max Root's commentary on it is how he talks about when he releases the brake and opens the wheel. He's really a student of the sport and what he needs to do. That was a GT3 car. These are GT4 cars, but they're plenty quick around here as well.
They certainly are, and we were just touching on the fact about the championship scenario. I mean, with that 6th consecutive victory that Michael Cooper had here on Friday, they had opened up the points chase to 40 points. And it was a huge moment for Spencer Pumpelly to get around Michael yesterday and hang on for the victories, cut it back down to 33. Still a long road ahead to take the title away from Michael, but he stopped the momentum, and the Porsche seems really good over the single lap here. Very cool conditions here this weekend. We're not even just touching around the 70-degree ambient mark here this afternoon, so I think that plays into the Porsche's hands just a little bit, but even so, that McLaren's been awfully tough this season.
Yeah, it was a great race, but those last couple of laps were absolutely spectacular. Friday's margin of victory was 1.4 seconds. Yesterday's was 0.2. So 2 races, 50 minutes, the margin of victory combined less than 2 seconds. I hope we're in for something that good today.
Yes, certainly so. And in the AM class, we've got another dominant Michael, and that's Michael Dinan.
Oh, boy.
He's also now had 7 wins on the season. We talked about Michael Cooper's 6 in a row, 7 for the year for Michael Cooper, 7 on the year for Michael Dinan. He's already won a race today in Sprint X competition with Robbie Foley aboard the Flying Lizard Motorsport Aston Martin. He's just been dominant and just really gaining in confidence week in, week out. So he'll roll off the grid in 4th position and 1st in class.
And even though Drew didn't have the race he wanted yesterday, he got a nice lap in, so Drew Stavely in that Ian Lacey Racing G3 Motorsports Mustang starts on the outside of the front row. He fell off a little bit later in the race yesterday. See if they were able to figure out a solution there. It's nice to have Jeff Burton back behind the wheel here of the Reardon Racing Burton Lumber car, the car that he had designated for the sprint class. He runs the number 191. I had a big shunt down in Canada Corner on Friday, and they got permission to let him run basically the car they run in GT4 Sprint X.
Yeah, and he's another driver who's getting a lot of confidence. Had a win back at Sonoma. So the Red Racing Aston Martins have been very racy this year. I mean, they really found their feet with the platform, just like the Flying Lizard Motorsport Group have as well. So Terry and Burton had a win apiece back at Sonoma. But here in Road America, it seems like Michael Dinan is very, very tough to beat. So we'll see if they can crack that momentum that he currently has. Well,
and you consider what he's done this weekend and tally with what he's done from the start of the season. It was this morning in the Sprint X, it was his 11th win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a remarkable year that he is stringing together here. And looking at Tony Gaples, that's that Black Dog McLaren with the lights flashing. And there's no reason to have those lights flashing now. I wonder if there's something a little electrical that's gone on, because they were flashing in a specific pattern for a little bit. Now it's just a continual flash.
Great to see Tony back. He missed several events due to some eye surgery. Both eyes had been operated on, 7 individual surgery procedures. And got off the season to a really strong start. He finished off 2019 strong, really getting to grips with this McLaren chassis. Came out of the box strong at Coda. A couple of podium runs there, and then had to go through that surgery. So he'd missed his racing, sitting on the sidelines, did not sit well for him. For some drivers, you know what, there's other great things in life I'd prefer to rather go and do right now. But for Tony, it's like, no, I want to be back behind the wheel of a race car. And certainly to return here on home turf with the Black Dog Speed Shop team was one target that he really wanted to meet. And he's had a good weekend, a couple of podium runs, 3rd and a 2nd.
Yep, what a comeback for him. And yeah, he said, this has really rejuiced me in terms of, you know, the competitive instincts. He said, I didn't, you know, sometimes you just don't realize how much you love something until it's sort of taken away from you. And I'm sure, you know, you're talking eye surgeries and stuff, and that's got to weigh on it as well. And the fact that he came through it fine, and now is quicker, and might even be seeing a little better, which means he's even racier, so that's a good thing.
Made me slower when I could see better. Got scared.
the fear factor came in. Absolutely. But yeah, looking forward to this one. Again, Pompelli with that pole, then Stavely, then Cooper, then Dinan 4th overall. And it's that Aston Martin that right there, you see the blue in it with that yellow trim. That is that Flying Lizard Aston Martin that he has just been flying in. And then Terry, Gaples, Quinlan, Jason Bell, Jeff Courtney, and Jason Hall, and then Frank Gannett, and then Burton. Fortunately for Mark Clennon, had that incident in that first race and hasn't been able to come back in the Premier copy of Sin R1 GT4. He'll be back, though, at the next round of the championship, I'm sure. But the Acura NSX, the official safety vehicle of SRO Motorsports America, lights out, heading to pit lane in this 50-minute mano-a-mano sprint about to go. Only one driver per car. And we've had 2 great races. Let's hope we finish this amazingly busy and fun weekend with another absolute burner of a race here. And here we go. And for Spencer Pompelli, he has got to figure out a way to lead into turn 1. See if he can do it against Drew Stavely, and no.
Drew just got the drop there.
Wow.
And another not a great start for Spencer Pompelli. Michael Cooper right in his shadows there, and a good start for Michael Dinan on that left lane right of the screen as we look at them. Pompelli sneaks inside of him. Cooper gets squeezed a little bit. Looks like Dinan's going to slot into that 3rd position.
And does. Cooper, though, is going to fight back down the hill. Looking to the inside, Dinan swings out. Cooper's going to take advantage of that, pounces. But Dinan now might be able to roll a little bit more speed at the exit. Stavely out front, and look at this, 3 abreast at the exit of turn 3. That's Jeff Courtney, and Burton trying to move up through the pack.
Yeah, Michael Cooper had to make that move. He couldn't afford to be dropped down to the 4th position, as now he comes under attack once again by Michael Dinan and down into the brake zone. Good start for Tony Gaples, up to 5th overall.
Yeah, second, in fact, getting around Terry, as so has Jason Bell. Jason Bell's gone around Paul Terry, so the GMG Racing Machines has slipped around that Reardon Racing Aston Martin.
Jason Bell trying to get used to GT4 machinery and having just jumped out of his Sports Club GT2 Porsche with about 300 more horsepower, so that's quite the transition here.
He probably takes him a lap or two to realize, well, I can go a little bit deeper into that corner in this car.
He squeezed on the power a lot sooner as well.
He's adapted and adjusted quite nice here, and he's really got Paul Terry now hounding him. There's a look at Jeff Courtney and the Wreckstuff.com Racing, Kenda Tire Mercedes. There's leader Stavely, Pompelli, Cooper. There's Dinan.
There's Jason Bell having a very shallow angle into the kink there, has to give that position up to Paul Terry. And now Sean Quinlan has got a big run aboard the Stephen Cameron Racing BMW M4, the orange and blue machine there, middle of the screen.
And Bell able to defend on him. Oh, but Burton down to the inside. Almost a little touch. Didn't, but so close to Quinlan. But everybody working through and being clean right now. Stavely out of 14 and climbing the hill with Pompelli right there. Then Cooper, then that little bit of a gap to Dinan, then Gaples, and then Terry and the Paul Terry Trucking Reardon Aston Martin. There's a look at Michael Cooper.
Just the perfect start for Drew Stavely.
Yeah.
Just jumped on the gas that fraction sooner, and Spencer Pompelli had no time to react to that. So the outside lane has worked very effectively. Everyone talks about if I got the pole position, I want to be on the right-hand side, but it seems like the outside lane has really worked very effectively. There's been a lot of talk amongst the Ian Lacey group about the balance of performance with the Mustang to the rest of the GT4 field, but right now in the early going, he looks strong.
Jason Bell hanging on to Quinlan here in that 13 Angry Men NYC, Frost NYC GMG Racing Porsche. Looks like he had a little bit of a run on Quinlan, but the problem is that right behind him, he's got to be careful of Burton. Burton now coming up on his outside, heading down into turn 5. Burton's going to try and just roll the outside, and that got Bell to pinch his exit. Burton
just clears him.
Just clears him. I thought Bell might try something up in a 6, but not so.
Nice move there by Jeff Burton there. I'm sure after that big incident that he had here on Friday, his confidence was rocked a little bit, but seems to be up on the wheel really early in this race, chasing down Sean Quinlan, who's having another strong weekend.
And right behind now, Jason is the Jason Bell cars, the Jason Hall Porsche. That one run from the NOLA Sport team. And then Courtney must have got hung out somewhere because he was fighting for positions farther up than that and then dropped back suddenly.
Just trying to regroup here, get back into a rhythm. With Jason Hall here in the NOLA Sport entry.
Yeah, the last weekend Jeff raced with us was VIR, and he ended up having fast laps in class in all 3 races. And had some podiums and had a potential win that he just made a little mistake in. Ran wide, cost him a potential win, but he has certainly shown speed this year, and he certainly knows this track. Oh, Burton, nice run out of 14, glued to the back of Sean Quinlan right here. Tell you what, once Burton got through on Jason Bell, he ran Quinlan down in a hurry.
Yeah, he really did. Stavely's just holding station up front, maintaining that gap over the chasing Spencer Pompelli. So important for Spencer. He's got to keep taking points out of Michael Cooper's championship lead right now. But he'd love to get around Stavely and have Stavely then create another cushion in points back to Michael.
Of course, Stavely had a win right out of the box. This is his first season as a pro driver after winning the AM Championship. And got a win right out of the box at Circuit of the Americas, but then since then it's he's been in the mix on occasion, certainly, but in terms of that championship and in terms of the races, it's usually been either Spencer or Cooper out front, and having Stavely out front with those 2 guys chasing, What's that going to do to the mindset, do you think, of a Spencer and a Cooper?
Well, I think he came out and made a big statement by winning the opening round of the championship season at Circuit of the Americas, and he seemed very frustrated on the second round there when he didn't win. So I think he went in the remaining rounds, but then we had the lockdown, and on the return it seemed like Spencer and Michael have really upped the ante, particularly Michael Cooper. He went on that tear with 6 consecutive victories, so it's been tough to really challenge him of late, but not the start of the race he was looking for. Lockdown on the second row of the grid, had nowhere to go, particularly with Spencer having a mediocre start once again and allowing Stavely to jump to the front. So Michael's going to have to dig deep into his bag of tricks here to try and make some moves.
Here's Tony Gaples hanging on over Paul Terry.
Battle for position in the AM class. Dynan continues to lead, looking for another victory here today. Yep. Tony Gaples, he loves this home circuit.
Doesn't he? What's been nice here in particular is we're seeing Tony Gaples, and he seems to be getting after it just a little bit more in qualifying, which now has him in these positions to be up in podium contention a lot earlier in the race.
Yeah, I think he's just found a great comfort factor with this car as well. We talk about other guys like Michael Dynan, like Paul Terry, like in the Aston Martin chassis. Well, I think that Tony Gaples and the team have really found the sweet spot with this McLaren. And it's working well for both Michael and his team boss here.
Yeah, of course, Black Duck had such a long history with a different manufacturer, and Tony had really come to be comfortable in those cars. And this is a very different machine than they were. And it took him a while to really get things dialed. As we talked about in other races over the course of the weekend here, that McLaren GT4 car is a lot closer to the street car than a lot of these other cars are. And in ways, that makes it a little bit more difficult to really turn it into a fast race car.
Yeah, you're also almost trying to disable some of those functions on the car. So that was kind of the work in progress early last year, but they've certainly got on top of that now. And Michael Cooper told me that this is really a well-suited circuit for this McLaren chassis. Has good straightaway speed as well, but just really likes the fact that these are sort of like long 90-degree turns and not too tight.
And the McLaren obviously is a mid-engine car, so the balance with those long corners is probably pretty ideal, I would think.
Well, you need the balance around this race, so particularly through this sector 2. Sector 2 goes from the entrance to turn 5 as Terry goes really deep on the brakes, takes the position away, and Tony wisely gives it to him. Nothing he can do about that. Late move there by Paul Terry, but a nice clean one. That's for position in the M class, moves him up to second. Going to say that this middle sector is really all about balance, Greg, so you need that to get the confidence and get the lap time out of the race car.
I'll tell you, one thing we've seen from Paul Terry over the years when we were watching him in touring car racing is he is a big demon late breaker, and he certainly put that on full display right here. He came from a ways back.
He did, a couple of car lengths back, just deep on the brakes, probably in the ABS. But nice racing there, didn't get close to Tony and just gave him plenty of racing room as this battle continues here between Jason Hall and Jeff Courtney. Battle for 7th in class. That's putting in perspective how competitive this class is these days, yeah, with Jeff back there.
No kidding. Jason Bell right there in 6th, Hall in 7th, and the Mercedes here in 8th. And do keep in mind that Jeff is a AM champion, a former AM champion in this series. Awfully good driver, and you're talking about the depth here, and I'm very impressed with Jason Hall because he hasn't done any pro racing. He'd done a lot of Porsche Club Trophy West work, and he's a student, if you will, of Jason Hart, who works with him, coaches him, and they've been working on his speed and his racecraft to get him ready for his pro debut, and they decided, yeah, I'm sure Jason was saying, well, it'd be nice to do it at Road America. It's a pretty nice track, isn't it? And he's done a great job.
Elected not to run on Friday with the bad weather we were having, but it's been a really solid weekend for him, showing great pace here.
Tony runs a really different line through that Moraine sweep and into turn 5.
Yeah, he kind of runs down the left-hand side of the road, then suddenly moves over to the right for the brakes. I used to run more of a diagonal. You see guys just hanging all the way right. Oh, as we see Burton off and on through turn 6. try and shortcut it a little bit, but you want
Right.
to be certainly over to the right-hand side by the time you're getting on the brakes, and ideally in a straight line and not at an angle. Come in at an angle there to turn 5. It's easy to get the right sides up on the curb there and disrupt the braking a little bit.
And if you're too angular on that, I mean, then your turn-in becomes a lot tighter too, doesn't it? So, hey, Tony's driven a lot more laps around here than I have.
Yep.
That's for sure.
See Sean Quinlan there. He's had a really strong weekend. Seems to have been up in the thick of things in all of the races he's been competing in. Busy weekend for him with 2 triple headers.
I think watching Burton have that big moment and bouncing around a little bit at the exit of turn 6 for the driver who's behind, and that just makes that carrot all the more attractive, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you're looking for any chink in the armor, any little mistake. It's tough to pass around here. So when you see the driver off like that, you want to certainly be close enough to maybe make a run by the time you get to the brake zone for turn 8. He wasn't quite close enough for that, but certainly wants to keep the pressure on, as is Spencer Pumpelly. Starting to close in a little bit here on Drew Stavely. And certainly Michael Cooper's being dropped a little bit, so that's a bit of a surprise here.
It is. He's almost 2 seconds adrift of Pumpelly, over 2 seconds behind Stavely.
Pumpelly seems to have caught Stavely really quickly. It's like he's turned it up a notch.
Well, I wonder if Pumpelly, seeing Cooper drop off like that, is thinking, if I get around Stavely, maybe I can build even more of a margin just in case Cooper finds some speed later in the race. And of course, when you're looking to make up ground on somebody who's had a start like Cooper,
He's thinking about it.
You bet he is. It's 7-point swing first to second, but only 3 second to third. So if he can get around first to third's 10 points. That'd be big.
Well, it's a big rebound if you think about it. If it did work out that way, where he could get the win here and Michael down in 3rd position, what would be a 40-point lead after Friday would suddenly be cut down to 23. So that's the amount of swing that you can see in a triple header weekend. Throaty Mustang.
I've said it before, you always know when he picks up the throttle. The one thing I'm noticing right now, and again, it's fairly early in this race certainly, but you're not seeing, you know, there's that drift through the carousel, but exiting the tighter turns, 5, 8, etc. I'm not seeing the rear end of that Mustang who goes to throttle sliding around and stepping out like it has been.
No, he looks to be a lot stronger here today, so this is good news for that team. I know they've been a bit frustrated. We talked about the early season pace of Drew Stavely, but they seem to have been off the mark a little bit. Spencer looks to the inside. Had to continue to brake there as Drew suddenly dove for the apex there. Almost contact. Like Spencer wasn't going to make the move, then he seemed like Drew was hanging on the brakes a little bit too long, and just as he released them, Spencer was thinking about filling the gap.
All right, in the toe once again. There you see Cooper. He's starting to feel actually a little bit of heat from Dynan.
He's definitely struggling for pace here today. I think for Spencer Pumpelly, if he can get around Drew Stavely and then maybe manage the pace, manage the tires here for the last 30, 35 minutes of this race, would be really a key element to victory possibly.
He's certainly flown some big speed. See if he tries anything.
He's got more pace, I think. I think if he could get around Drew, he could maybe inch away a little bit.
Yeah, you got to get things done early in 3, because if you're slow coming out of 3, it really hurts you all the way down this Moraine sweep run. And we've been wondering what the story might be with Michael Cooper, right?
There's no panic on the Black Dog Speed Shop pit wall, that's for sure. Michael Cooper over the radio, all he has said so far is just asked for his splits, asked for the distance between the cars around him, and there is a suggestion, at least from the Black Dog team, that he could just be managing the gap, managing his tires for an assault later on in this race. There's a belief that especially the Mustang might be a bit harder on its tires than the chasing Porsche and McLaren. So while we can't say definitively, it seems like there is at least a possibility that Michael's playing the long game right now and will make his move towards the end.
Well, Ryan, just to update you, while you were doing that report down into turn 5, Spencer Pumpelly underneath Stavely and into the lead.
Well, we'll see here. Now that Spencer's got the lead, you'd think if Michael Cooper's got anything, he's got to start to try and demonstrate it here. He's going to have his hand forced a little bit with Michael Dinan, who's again got great pace there, leading in the AM division.
What a great piece of racetrack this is. Carousel Kink, Canada.
Spencer's car is just really hooked up here this weekend. He's just getting stymied in the battles with Michael Cooper earlier this weekend with just that little bit of extra top speed that the McLaren has. But I think over the lap, the car's handling has been superb, evidenced by a couple of pole positions. Or was it 3 for the weekend? 3 poles, I believe.
3 for the weekend, yep. So he's been strong in terms of outright pace here, but would love to get this second win. And these GT4 cars, they don't have the aero sensitivity of a GT3 car, but still, if you're in clear air out front, you don't have any aero wash on you. Not only is it going to be a little bit better for your aero, but cooling and all that. It's a nice cool day. That's not going to be a huge issue. But for Spencer, when that car is out front, it really seems to work.
It does like the clean air and the cooler conditions for sure. So as you said, not the big aero effect that the GT3 cars have to suffer through if they're following closely. That's why we saw such great racing here over the course of this weekend. And I'm just curious to see what sort of lap times we can see from these leaders. Certainly Michael Cooper has responded a little bit. His last lap time just marginally quicker than Pompelli, and Stavely is backing up here a little bit.
And they go through 5 and this climb up into turn 6. And right when you brake, the track flattens out. And if you time it wrong, if you brake too early, you're just slow. If you brake too late, the car gets light. And you've just got to really have it managed. And there's a way, if you get in there and you get the weight, you know, the rotation just right as you come over the rise, you get just a little bit of rotation, it negates your flow to the outside, and you can pick the throttle up earlier. And the only reason I know that was, I remember Dorsey Schrader was explaining it to me in the booth once, and we watched James Weaver and Dorsey said, that's what I was just talking about. And that lap, Weaver put it on pole. So there are the little tricks around here, aren't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance to this circuit. I mean, all of the corners seem that little bit different from one another. There's really no throwaway turns, and that's why it's so demanding. You got 14 of them to click together. Seems like Stavely's responded here a little bit. The gap hasn't really built much on this lap, so we'll have to see how they line up here on individual lap times. Tony Gaples trying to keep the pressure there on Paul Terry. Those are the 2 final podium spots in the AM class.
Terry got through, but he hasn't really gotten away. Tony doing a very nice job right now, running virtually identical times to Terry, who has wins this year in this category. We know he's quick.
It's not unusual to see Tony Gaples pick up positions in the last couple of laps of a race, so he's just got to hang tough here and see if he can make some of his competitors crack under the pressure.
And Burton has gone around on Quinlan, so he's now 4th in the Burton Lumber entry. Quinlan, the Cameron Race Products BMW, now 5th. There is Burton. And Tony's closing. At least under braking here into 1.
He's got the bit between his teeth there, and car looks very well balanced, not having to use much of the road on the exit there of turn 1 as Paul Terry is floating across the curbs a little bit.
Here's Jeff Burton. Burton Lumber entry running out of the Reardon Racing Camp, based in the team based in Salt Lake City, Utah.
It's in a sensational battle.
Yeah.
With the Compass Racing entry of Ray Mason here on Friday in really tricky wet conditions. Just got too close heading into the brake zone for Canada Corner. Had a huge wreck between the 2 of them. Both of those chassis wouldn't see any further action this weekend. But the team is regrouped, and here's a move there by Jason Bell down to the inside, or is it Courtney maybe going around the outside?
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, he got the run down the Moraine sweep. Makes it stick.
You know, Jason Hall sitting behind watching what Courtney just did. That's one of those teachable moments, isn't it? You're watching going, oh, you can do that here, okay.
Courtney now up to 6 in class. A bit more of what we expected from him here on his home turf as well, based down in Milwaukee.
Just didn't get a great start and then has had to fight his way up through again.
Well, he races so clean and respectful, but he's got immense pace.
Yes.
Once he's in clean air here.
Jason Bell on that 13 Angry Men, Frost NYC GMG Racing Porsche. Trying to figure out, can I stay with him at this stage? And right now, Courtney just looks to have a bit more pace.
Yeah, he's stretching that gap here immediately. Jason's got to be wiped out. This is the last event for him.
Yeah.
8 on the weekend once again. It's become his ritual, though, with these makeup races with the triple headers for both of the GT4 and Sprint X competition.
Well, we talk about the 8 races he's done, but then you have to factor in, okay, that's 8 qualifying sessions. Well, I guess 6, because the sprint races, it's how you run, so 6 qualities, but a bunch of practices, a bunch of qualities, and then 8 races. And you know what that means? That driver's suit's pretty ripe. You don't have any time to change, because all you're doing is getting from one car into the next one.
Yeah, so
but he's
got
just
some spares, but
yeah, I'm
nonetheless,
sure.
I get your point.
Yeah, he is embracing these the challenge of these weekends. That's for sure. You know what? He's now found a little bit of pace and is not letting Courtney get away.
Yeah, those guys running in the 221 range. Our leaders knocking laps down at 219.6, 219.8, 219.4 for Cooper. So Cooper's getting ever closer to Drew Stavely. There you see it. That was what Ray Sorensen, the team leader there at the Black Dog Speed Shop Group, was relating, I believe, to Ryan in terms of Michael Cooper just managing his pace over this 50-minute run here today. It's gradually closing in on Drew Stavely.
This is one of those scenarios where obviously Spencer wants to build as much of a lead as he can, but he's also a top flight pro and understands that to just burn the tires off the car, building a lead, should something happen later in the race, a yellow, a caution, and he has nothing to fight with, and Cooper has been saving his great tires. So Spencer's on a bit of a tightrope right now, isn't he, in terms of trying to open the margin up without hurting those Pirellis.
He is, but he's such a pro. You know, he'll just be looking in his mirrors, managing the gaps, and then just determining when it's go time. I'm sure he's, as you said, just trying to pace himself as well, just monitoring where Cooper is. I'm sure he feels that he's the biggest threat to victory here today, and he has to continue, as we keep saying, cutting into that points lead that Michael had established with that run that he went on.
It's like in the latter or the middle section of that lap, Stavely may have opened it up just a little bit again on Cooper. He seemed a bit closer. Here comes Pompelli through. The margin was, well, it's up 2 now, over a second, Pompelli to Stavely, and from Stavely to Cooper about the same, and then Dynan is within a second of Cooper at this stage. And they have just gapped the rest of the field.
Well, it certainly seems like we talked about it yesterday with the Ford Mustang and where it produces its lap time from, and we always think about the big horsepower, you know, Mustang and just getting down the straightaways quick, but that's really not the case. I mean, Stavely seems to be a little bit quicker through that middle sector, which is all about handling and braking. So he's now coming into that sector right now as you hit the approach to turn 5. Even though Michael's much closer there, so that sector 1 is where Cooper has a bit of an advantage. But through here, the Mustang seems to be working pretty well.
This is up into that turn 6 we were just talking about. Turn 7, right as you turn in there, the track just starts falling away. You got to be very precise through there, but it's such a quick corner.
You can see there that Drew's just opened up a couple of car lengths on Michael from where they turned into turn 5 with. Look at Spencer working the wheel there. You just think he's just going to hold the steering, and he is dancing it through there.
Well, that's very much, you know, I mean, all corners are obviously, but that carousel, you're in it for so long, it's very much a feel corner, isn't it? You feel when the tire takes a set, you feel when it starts to release too much. And, you know, with all of the sensors and data acquisition in these cars, there's the 2 most important sensors are still the ones labeled LC and RC, left cheek, right cheek.
Absolutely.
Ooh,
that was a moment there for Terry. Late on the brakes, just lost the rear end momentarily. Catches it, I think. Yes, he does. But probably lost a couple of tenths there to Tony Gaples, who's chasing him down. The car just twitched there as he was turning it in.
Was that maybe he was a little too hard into the ABS?
Yeah, I think so. Just left his braking a little bit too late there as now.
Jason Hall got a nice exit.
Big run, and Jason Bella's giving him plenty of room on that right-hand side as they drift through 13.
He hangs on to that spot, but I'm impressed with Jason Hall here in his pro debut. Just under halfway, or just past halfway, I should say. And Pumpelly, that margin about the same.
Oh, here's the move.
Here we go.
That first sector is where Michael Cooper is really strong. Gets close enough to Drew, down into the brake zone. Takes that position away. Drew's going to come back at him. He gets on the power a little bit earlier as they climb the hill. How aggressive will Staveley be? Cooper swings across and grabs the position. Great move there by Michael Cooper. Now it's a different dynamic for our leader, Spencer Pumpelly, when he looks in that rearview mirror and sees the Black Dog Speed Shop McLaren.
Well, I was watching brake lights up into turn 6, and from that inside line, Staveley, he blinked first and flashed those lights just a little bit, and that allowed Cooper to just go hang on around the outside. But now we will see what's left in this Black Dog McLaren.
Wonder what Spencer Pumpelly and Kevin Buckler are thinking now about their chances of victory with this TRG LaSalle Solution Porsche. Gap across the line. Pumpelly to Staveley is 1.2 seconds, but Cooper has now got, importantly, that second position on the road. I think this next lap or two may paint the picture for the rest of the way.
Well, Cooper was a little over 2/10 faster than both Pumpelly and Staveley on that last lap as he ran Staveley down. So now we get to find out what does Spencer have left underneath him in that LaSalle Solutions Racers Group Adobe Road Winery car.
I saw Spencer last night out in the village, and I said congratulations on a great job, and he was still pretty subdued. I don't really quite understand the psychology that's going on within that group right now. I still think they feel that, you know, Michael Cooper's got this thing controlled, but it looked like a pretty feisty race to me yesterday.
It certainly did,
certainly one of the best we've seen for a long, long time. So maybe if they can get a second victory on the trot here, they may think a little bit differently tonight.
Pumpelly turning a 2:19.9, Cooper a 2:19.7. Staveley dropping off to a 2:21.1. And now he's got to contend with Michael Dinan. And for Dinan to a point, Cal, this becomes a little bit of a decision time here. If he's quick enough, does he try and get around Staveley? Or does he just go, look, those guys are out in a different class than I am. I'm set to score a 12th win on the season between the two different GT4 categories. Don't get overly greedy here.
Yes, I agree with that, but he's got a 57-point lead now, so maybe he's got the luxury of going and having a bit of fun.
That's true. That's true. Well, and I mean, he has driven incredibly fast, but within himself. We haven't seen him. The only time we saw him really have a big moment was through Billy Mitchell, and he got tapped by Andretti. And it was a brilliant save. Didn't phase him at all, and off he went. So, all right, yeah, he's been a good student. Go out and have some fun. It's recess.
At that first sector time between Pumpelly and Cooper. Cooper 2/10 up. Complete sector 2 here. See how they line up. Pretty equal through sector 2. So the handling sector, it looks like Pumpelly's the match for Cooper there, but sector 1 and sector 3, I think, is where the McLaren may be a little bit faster.
And going back and picking up, there it is, the Gaples.
Gaples got around
him. He got
him.
through him. Yes, he did.
Back up to second. Terry may be struggling with his car a little bit. We saw him have that moment into the brake zone for Canada just a short while ago. As we said, typically Tony makes moves late.
He didn't catch the pass, but it was a little twitch there, but he hangs on to it.
Called a really good corner there.
Yeah, he sure did. Interesting to see here what these times come up as. As Tony flashes through. Here's watch it here. Oh, Terry wide down in 5 again. I wonder if he's having some sort of ABS issue.
Yeah, quite possibly. You see Tony Gables immediately pounce, and up front at last lap, Cooper was 6/10 quicker than our leader, Spencer Pumpelly.
Sorry, I was just listening for Jaws music.
Well, there he is.
Yeah, he's coming.
Another look.
And almost 19 minutes still to go.
Pretty equal there through the first sector, so no advantage gained by Cooper on the chase down of the leader. Time is winding down here, obviously. If Cooper can get on his tail, this is one very well managed race by Michael Cooper to be sitting back there in the 3rd position. Recognize he's got to get around Drew Stavely, a pretty fierce competitor himself, and then chase down Spencer, whose car has looked really well hooked up here this weekend.
Well, and that's just discipline, isn't it? When we saw Ian James use that to huge effect on his way to the championship last year, where he would be willing to sit seconds back and sitting 4th for the first half of the race while everybody was using up their tires, and then he would just come steaming up through the field. And but drivers at that level, they understand. They have that feel, which we were just talking about what are they taking out of the tires? Save it, save it, save it, now go. And that's part of the gift, isn't it, here, as we are watching this battle. Let's get down to the pits, check in with Ryan Marine.
Just got an update from Flying Lizard Motorsports. Obviously, things going quite well right now for Michael Dinan, and he's got his driver coach and SprintX co-driver on the radio with him, helping him through this situation right now. 4th overall, but 1st in the AM class, and with a pretty handy lead at this point. The only real incentive right now is perhaps to try and get on the overall podium, but the consensus between the team and and Michael on the radio is, unless there's a real clear opportunity to make that move, we're not going to risk anything at this point. They're going to stay in line and really try and preserve that win. So not a whole lot of drama there. The biggest problem that he's having, he can't get the tube from his drink bottle into his mouth. It can't quite reach. So if that's your biggest problem, you know you're having a pretty good day.
Yeah, exactly, especially when you've got a almost 10-second lead over your competition, and you're an AM and you're running with pros. You can have a drink when you're done.
Yeah, it's been champagne recently, so.
That's true.
Pumpelly lead is now down to just 0.7 of a second last time across the stripe. But he has responded, personal best first sector, so maybe Spencer Pumpelly has got a little bit of tire left to respond with.
Well, again, even though these cars don't have that level of sensitivity of a GT3 car, you're in the wash of another car, can still do it. And I wonder if that's what Spencer thought was, I just got to get by Drew, then I can push a little bit harder and not hurt the fronts as much as I am sitting behind him here.
It's Mark Wider, his engineer. Won championships with him before. And just one of the good guys in this sport, just really technically savvy, but just always got a smile on his face. Very positive attitude, and just a great chemistry that he has within that whole group with Ray Sorensen, the rest of the crew, and Michael, of course, the driver.
Well, that is a serious race team, you know, as you said, with just an immense group with amazing skill sets. But they're also a group that understands racing's fun. And when Tony Gables is involved, fun's always important. And I think that sometimes just having that light, a little bit light, fun atmosphere just certainly can produce even better results. Boy, Cooper's closing.
Yeah, this is getting intense.
Yeah.
This is going to be hopefully a cut and paste of the last few laps yesterday. That was some of the best racing we've seen all season long.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The margin, 0.3. And Cooper, boy, did he get a run to the point where he even looked for a moment to the inside.
He rushed up on Spencer big time there, and Spencer knows that car's got that edge in the straightaway speed, and he's going to have to make that Porsche really wide and get really innovative with his lines here to defend, I feel.
Yeah, They both got decent runs out of 3. It looked like Spencer turned in just a little bit sooner. So Cooper may have been able to square that corner up. And you know Spencer's just going to park on the inside, or I would have thought he would have.
He's just going to say, I can brake really late with my car right now with the tires that I've got underneath me. There's no way you're going to be out brake me, even if you've got a little bit more straightaway speed than I have. I think this is maybe Spencer's thought process last night when I was talking to him, saying, okay, yeah, but I still feel that Michael's got the strongest car right now.
He certainly has closed him down in a hurry, but
lots of laps left in
yes, there are. This is one of those scenarios you just don't know. You know, what did Spencer take out of his car getting around Stavely and building up the margin? What did Cooper take out? Take up running Stavely down, passing him, and then closing here as well. Spencer does seem to get a little bit of a gap built up through the carousel and the kink, but then Cooper gets a great run there.
He does, and watch him. Oh, he's going to. I thought he was going to try and slide across and dive it to the inside there. Wasn't quite close enough, or it was going to be too risky. Spencer's going to have to be right on his toes right now to keep him behind.
Or Cooper didn't want to show his hand. Maybe that's what he is planning, but he.
You can't get too crafty here, because all you need is a yellow and runner to suddenly get a caution that ends the race in terms of any green flag racing. So if you got that advantage, you probably want to try and make it stick here relatively quickly.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point, especially if you're pretty sure you've got the pace. Oh boy, here we go. Cooper moves out.
Watch him just try and roll more apex speed right here.
And that's where in yesterday's race, that's where Spencer was rolling the speed.
Yeah. It's looking menacing, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is.
He's got the pace here. He's just got to figure out the way through. I thought he's going to have a dive down to the inside there, but maybe he felt it was still a bit too risky.
And then Stavely watching Dynan there. Oh.
Spencer's covering his every move right now.
He sure is. There's Stavely. This will be interesting if these guys start battling and defending and slowing each other down. Stavely's not that far back.
Well, we have slowed each other down a little bit. I think with that compromised line that Spencer's having to run, it's certainly affecting their lap times a little bit and is allowing Stavely and Dynan, for that matter, to close in ever so slightly. So I think turn 12 and turn 5 are the two prime spots here.
Yes. Right there, you see Spencer ease away just a little bit. Car working good. Excuse me, working well. In the carousel, solid through the kink, but then you get into the speed run here, and this is where Cooper starts to close it up again a little bit.
Does a little bit, but he's not quite as close as he was the previous lap. He's come from much further back here, so Spencer should be safe into Canada this time around. Just it's all about setting him up. So he's sort of like done a couple of dummy runs without truly showing his hand and sticking it down to the inside. Certainly he's got potential to get good apex rolling speed through turn 1 and be in position for turn 3, but I think down into turn 5 is probably his biggest opportunity, but that's probably the easiest place for Spencer to defend from.
It's interesting, Spencer seems to take a little shallower arc all the way through 14 instead of swinging out and really opening his hands up. Boy, Cooper thought Spencer might move to the outside, and he was ready to do the cut under, but now he's going to try and go around the outside into one. Now watch him try and slide through underneath, and Spencer covers that beautifully.
Oh, that's so tight. That's so tight there. I think if Michael committed to the inside, there could be some paint rubbing, and maybe he could force his way through, but he thinks better of it. Under 10 minutes to go. Just amazing that these two drivers are running this close together so consistently without really getting into each other.
Yeah, well, they're true pros to be sure. And Spencer okay here. What I was getting at with that run through turn 14, he doesn't swing out and arc that corner anywhere near like Cooper does, and I would think that would not give him the opportunity to get the run out of 14 and up the hill that he needs to. Ooh, big
Dynan
moment
dropping
by
the wheel.
Dynan, yeah.
It's a rare mistake this year for Michael Dynan there, just dropping the wheel by himself. Meanwhile, focus back on the leaders here. Michael's close. Maybe thinking about having a crack at it this time into Canada if he can stay close to him through the carousel, a little bit closer than he was last time through the King maybe. Will give him the opportunity.
By the way, Gaples in second is 2 seconds now clear of Terry, who's got 4 seconds to Burton. And then a big gap to Quinlan. That's your top 5 in AM. Here's your top 3, and yes, I think you're right. Cooper's a little bit closer this time.
A little bit closer. Takes a big run there. Not close enough, though. Spencer's still really good under the brakes.
Yeah, when you're over a car length back at the brake zone, you're not going to get that done, are you? Not without contact.
No, because Spencer's just releasing the brakes and getting to the apex on 12 very effectively, so it'd probably be some contact here.
Look at that the arc that Spencer he just turns in earlier, it seems.
Immediately goes on defense mode. Yeah, he does turn in slightly earlier for 14 than Michael does. Oh, this is a bit earlier in the straightaway where he's getting alongside. He might be able to clear him into turn 1.
This is ominous.
Spencer's going to just take it in as deep as he dare. Michael gives him the squeeze. This is going to be tight. Spencer's going to have to be really deep on the brakes down into turn 3 to keep it. Oh, he gives it up. Michael clears him. Now it's a reset here for Spencer Pumpelly. He's got to keep the pressure on, otherwise Michael may just disappear on him.
That was a beautiful move by Michael, and he did it was clean, but he did squeeze him a little bit, more just to make sure he couldn't run an arc all the way through 1 and just cost him that little bit of speed. Frank Gannett out. That's a shame. Teammate to Drew Stavely. Beautiful G3 Racing Ian Lacey Racing Mustang.
Just past the point where they'll score points here today, I believe. Not sure how long he's been sitting there, of course.
Yeah.
Stavely's not that far back from these two leaders as they've been jockeying around. Let's take another look at this pass here. Just was a little bit closer through 14, so he gets alongside, sweeps to the outside. Spencer doesn't want to do it in terms of compromises his radius and speed through turn 1, and Michael is able to clear him by the time they hit the brake pedal for turn 3.
Now he is digging as deep as he can to stay with Cooper here. Okay. This is that part of the track where Cooper would open it up or close up on Spencer until they hit the brake zone, and sit to open it up just a little bit here.
Just looking at the straightaway speeds, it's about 2 to 3 kilometers per hour is the edge that Michael seems to have, and that's just enough to make him really quick in Sector 1 and Sector 3. Sector 2, they're pretty equal. Stavely is closer.
Yes, he sure is. Boy, and there you can see Cooper as he eases away just a little bit. Here's Dynan, who after that bit of a moment has backed off just a bit. He's got tons of room back to Gaples and Terry, so this might not be the worst thing for him to do, just to back out of it, to get to the point where you're not close enough to think about playing with these pros, and then just bring it home with another win.
Yeah, it kind of takes it off the table a little bit. He can just refocus now and just bringing it home, as you said, for the class victory. Drew Stavely has the fastest lap of this race at 2:18.7. Cooper's fastest lap is at 2:19 flat. So certainly he's got pace in this race car, and it's hanging tough here in the late going as well.
Getting word from the pits that Gannett's issue was a broken transmission in that car, so that's unfortunate for sure. There's the Black Dog team. And, up through turn 6. Cooper is certainly He got to the front, but Spencer's staying relatively close, and we're into the final 4.5 minutes.
It's so evenly matched. You see Stavely there getting a little bit wide through turn 7, just hitting that little pothole at the end of the curving and settles the car a little bit. Don't think he lost too much time. Yeah, they're just so closely matched, but it just seems in terms of the dynamic of this racetrack and where you can make a pass, that Michael's a little bit stronger. That straightaway speed edge that he has, plus the draft effect, was enough to clear Spencer on that run up to turn 1 when he made the move.
And with the shape of that McLaren and as low as it runs, I'm not sure that it punches as big a hole to take advantage of as other cars out there either to draft back on him, does it?
It's pretty slippery.
Yeah.
It's got good power as well, so Spencer's not giving up though.
No, he's
He'll
not.
have to return the favor here, but there's only a couple of laps left to go.
Well, you think back to yesterday, that was the last 2 laps of the race that had position changes galore. Watch for it here. Oh, look at this here as Courtney has worked his way and caught Sean Quinlan. This is the battle for the final spot in the top 5 in the AM category.
It's been a long road to catch up with this BMW after a relatively slow start for Jeff Courtney. But he has worked his magic once again and has closed in on the BMW.
Really, really close here as they come out of Canada corner. See, this will be a nice sort of head-to-head comparison on straight line speeds, although Quinlan, oh, look at this move by Courtney. Got to the outside. That was beautiful.
That was strong, and certainly heads up driving by Sean Quinlan,
Yes.
recognizing that the Merc was over to his left-hand side, but then the BMW's pace down this straightaway has been super strong all weekend long. Maybe that was why he's willing to give it to him.
That could be.
Okay.
Confident he'd get it back, yeah.
Yeah.
Courtney's got to think about it. Where else can I make this happen? Obviously, Jeff would love to try something if he could and get it done in 5. And then maybe try and gap this very quick BMW here.
Yeah, it's a real chess match around this circuit because of the high-speed sectors through 1 and 3. And if you've got a car that's just handling well, got good lap time, but you're being frustrated like here where you're being gapped by a couple of car lengths, this is where he needs to get really close and execute. Get good exit speed here, which he's done. Be close enough through 6 and 7 and maybe make a move down into the brake zone for turn 8. And then you've got the Carousel and the King to try and then gap him enough by the time you get through to the brake zone for Canada.
Let's see, is he close enough here? I don't think he is. And he looked like he was good. He showed the nose into 7, then swung back over. And I wonder if that just cut his momentum a little bit, having to make that juke back left to set up again for 7.
You've got to set it up over 3 or 4 corners to get in position here, it seems. Doesn't have a ton of time left as the leaders will see the white flag.
The margin last time was 7/10. It's going to be over that this time. Yeah, 1.1. Cooper is putting his stamp on this one late, Cal.
He has. It's been really well managed, and what Ryan Marine got from the group early in the going was that Spencer was willing to let, Mike was willing to let Spencer grab the lead there and take off a little bit, just keep him in sight, and then as the race wound down a little bit, use his better tires to good effect here and come back at him. Pretty savvy racecraft to do that.
Absolutely, and that great discipline and patience as we are on our final lap. And again here, Courtney's so close to Quinlan in turn 14. He wasn't around him like he was in the last one, but now Quinlan just eases the way. Still Dynan obviously with a big lead in the AM category. Then Gaples, he's opened up almost a 3-second lead to Paul Terry. So Tony Gaples is really on form.
Great performance by the whole team. Certainly
Yes.
Michael leading overall, and Tony another strong podium run. Be 3 for the weekend if he can seal the deal. Okay, Jeff, how badly do you want it? You got to hang tough here. Stay as close as you can. You know, the BMW is going to gap you a little bit at this stage, but then just have a really good turn 5 and then just work it through 6 and 7 and get in position for turn 8 and then get aggressive.
See how close he is here down into 5. You can see again that boy, that BMW is strong in a straight line. Now Jeff has to, you said roll speed, and I think if he doesn't, if he's close going into 7, don't juke back and forth a little bit, just flow the speed through 7. Yeah, there we go. See if he can make it work here.
It's all good so far. Now he's just got to make it stick right here. Certainly Quinlan was up. He could recognize that Courtney was going to be quick through that sector. They get side by side. Courtney gets down to the inside into the carousel. Does Quinlan give him the lane?
He floats wide.
It's going to be tight here.
Oh boy. Quinlan's not giving it up easy, but Courtney's got position.
Watch the BMW kind of out-accelerate him to the kink.
Meanwhile, Cooper, after not getting the win yesterday, gets, what is that, his 7th and 8th races. Right now with a great run in the McLaren for Black Dogs. Pompelli comes through in 2nd for the Racers Group and LaSalle Solutions. And Drew Stavely for G3 and Ian Lacey. Oh boy, there is Courtney. There's Quinlan.
So he made it stick, and wonder if Quinlan had a bit of an off there as they scrambled to get through the kink. Wonder if it forced Quinlan wide, because he's lost a lot of ground here to Courtney on this last half lap.
He sure did. Boy, he was fighting hard around the outside, wouldn't give it up on the outside of the carousel. That's great stuff, but nonetheless, Courtney goes through. Dynan wins an AM, his 12th win across all the GT4 categories in this championship this season. Gaples 2nd, Terry 3rd, Burton 4th, and Jeff Courtney on the last lap cracks the top 5. And the Jasons are going after each other. Jason Hall for NOLA Sport, Jason Bell for GMG Racing. It's a drag race up the hill. Who's going to get it here? Jason Bell eases ahead and pulls it off and takes 7th out of the last turn in the climb up the hill, with Hall finishing in 8th. But for Jason Hall, still a great debut weekend. I think he's showed some real good turns of speed. And for Jason Bell, what a weekend he's had to endure here. That's his 8th race. Here's what happened in this battle.
Yeah, just side by side into the kink, and Jeff has that inside line, and you can see there Quinlan off in the marbles there and survives a scary moment going through the kink. That's what I felt had to have happened when I saw the gap by the time they got to Canada Corner.
There is Mike Dynan. What a run he has put together here this year, Cal, and in this category, sprint in particular, he has been superb.
He really has, and just continues to kind of dominate this class right now. 8 victories in the sprint competition, 4 over in Sprint X, so 12 for the season, and just continues to extend that lead, which will now be up to about 64 points, believe it or not. So not far away from clinching this title the way he's running.
Boy, it's been impressive, hasn't it? And I think he showed some really good judgment today. Got up there and was having some fun with the pros, but had that one little moment, and I think that may have been the wake-up call where, you know what, I don't have to push like this to get yet another win. Let's think big picture, and I'm sure Robbie Foley was suggesting that as well, and Michael Dynan's proven to be a mighty fine student. But some salve here for Drew Stavely as he gets the Crowd Strike Fastest Lap Award. 2-minute 18.780 second lap. That's a good run around 4 miles.
Yeah, solid result, and podium run, and only 1.5 seconds away from the leader and winner, Michael Cooper. That's got to give the whole camp there a little bit of a boost heading to the next round of the championship at a circuit that they've won on.
Yeah, absolutely. And then take a look here now at the provisional results. You see the top 3, the pros, and then Dynan, Gaples in 2nd, so another double podium for Black Dog, and then Paul Terry. Just didn't quite have Tony's pace today, but still an impressive 3rd. Jeff Burton doing a nice job coming from the back of the field up into the 4th spot, and then Jeff Courtney on that last lap squeezing through on Sean Quinlan, taking the last spot in the top 5, and then Bell out of turn 14 and the drag race up the hill, just pipping Jason Hall for that 7th spot. And then, of course, the issue for Gannett and then Clennon never able to take the green flag. But those guys up front certainly put on a great show. And, I mean, Tony and Terry, that was some fabulous racing as well. So throughout the field there was some good stuff here. But, boy, Michael Cooper, that was an extremely well-judged drive.
It really was. He managed it to perfection. Certainly was taking it all in as Spencer now walks across and gives him a pat on the back there. Big day for Michael Cooper and the whole group. And I know Spencer's going to be frustrated, and I think he felt that last night. Yeah, I got the win here today on Saturday, but I think Michael's still got a much stronger car than I. Much stronger being less than a second
yeah,
over a 50-minute race. But
it's all relative.
Beautiful run for Michael Cooper.
Let's take a look at some highlights from round 11 in the sprint championship. And, but this time it was Stavely just timing it a little bit better. Cal jumping into the lead, and Dynan being real aggressive as well, sweeping around Cooper and into third.
Yeah, Cooper had to really get feisty here and make the move deep on the brakes down into turn 3, gets that position back and moves into third overall and in class, and then he could just focus and just sit there and analyze for the rest of this race.
Some good scrapping back in the pack too, and take a look at some of the moves going on here. As Tony Gaples had a great start as well, jumped up into second. Jason Bell right there in third, sneaking through and underneath on Paul Terry. So really aggressive in the early going. And, big move here by Burton around the outside of Bell.
Jason Hall there in the thick of the action all day long. Nice strong run for him.
Courtney caught behind those guys after that great start. He drifted backward just a little bit. Then Wood put together one heck of a charge. And Tony Gaples feeling the pressure, and a deep braking move from way back by Paul Terry, but he pulled it off, moved him into second in the AM category, Cal.
Yeah, but then Tony, much like Michael, was willing to sit there and just save his tires and make a move later in the race. Move for the lead here. Spencer Pumpelly deep on the brakes down into turn 5, gets inside Drew Stavely and takes off for a little while.
He did. You see Cooper there in third, but then Cooper was able to run them down and made that beautiful move around the outside into turn number 1 and held on and brought it home for the win by almost a second over Spencer Pumpelly, with Stavely third. And then Michael Dynan winning in the AM category for Flying Lizard in that Aston Martin, with Tony Gaples second and Paul Terry third in the Reardon Aston Martin. And there's the Flying Lizard team enjoying a few moments down there. But we have our overall and pro winner standing by with Ryan Marine.
And that would be Michael Cooper from Black Dog Speed Shop. Another win for Michael here this weekend. And it took you a little while to get to the front in this race, but you were telling me that was somewhat by design, especially running this race in the afternoon. Different conditions than we've seen so far this weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't quite say it was designed, but I mean, Spencer and Drew went out guns blazing, and I did not have that pace that they were running. They were in the 18s at the beginning, and I could not get there. And whenever that happens, your only choice is really to try and have a little bit for the end. And so I just did every little thing I could not to slide the tires all race long. And, you know, about the halfway point, I think they started coming back to me. They were running 20s, and I was still in the high 19s, you know, a second and a half off what they had been running earlier in the race. And my pace only dropped off, you know, half that. So I had this delta to them that I was able to put some pressure on them and force them into mistakes and capitalize on it.
The battle with Spencer, not just today, but all season long, you guys really have been nip and tuck. Do you have any more secrets, or do you guys know each other and the way that you race by this point? Does anything step out and surprise you?
I mean, I know how Spencer drives per se, but like yesterday he was way more aggressive than I thought he might be. But I guess, you know, in the position that he's in right now, he's got to be that way. And, you know, we've always had a lot of respect between the two of us. We've raced, you know, almost 2 whole seasons together now, door to door all the time. And there was a little contact yesterday, but it was really clean, nothing hard. And I'm looking forward to more battles for the rest of the year.
We are as well. Congratulations on the win today.
Yeah, thank you to McLaren and thank you to Black Dog Speed Shop.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, they gave him a weapon, but once again, Michael Cooper doing what he needed to do. And, you know, adjusting that plan a little bit. I mean, that's something you have to deal with, and he came up with a great option.
Yeah, not panicking, not trying to overdrive the car and match the pace of the leaders early on, and just a perfectly managed race. I mean, that's what the crew were hoping for, but
yes,
we weren't sure. And then suddenly when it was go time, middle part of this race, he closed on Spencer and made a very nice move around the outside of 1. made it stick by the time they got to the brakes and the apex for 3.
All right, and this is going to be a remarkable stat here, but for the 12th time this season combined in GT4, let's go down and hear from Mike Dinan.
Yeah, that's right. What a season it has been for Michael Dinan. We believe that's win number 12 for you on this season. When the year began, back in March, I guess it was, at Circuit of the Americas, could you have imagined the run of success that you've been able to put together?
Honestly, I did not imagine this. The goal was just to obviously improve from last season, try to make fewer mistakes, improve my racecraft, and continue improving my pace. But the season so far has been incredible. Obviously, yeah, you never picture a season going this well. 12 wins is something truly to savor.
And we know that your schedule is going to prohibit you from being at every single race. Possibly you could still be at every single round. And if memory serves, does your school schedule have something to do with that?
No, it's actually not my school schedule, fortunate. But yeah, I have a family obligation during COTA, but I'm going to try to be there Friday and possibly on Sunday as well. So hopefully we're able to be there. Robbie and I would definitely hope to score some points to stay in the fight for the Sprint X Championship.
Well, you've done a tremendous job of scoring points all weekend long, both in Sprint and Sprint X. Congratulations on all the success, Michael.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Well, it's good to know that they might be there for 1 or 2 of the 3 races. That's good news, but family comes first, and you have those obligations you got to deal with. But boy, what a season he's put together here in Sprint in particular.
It's not good news for the competition.
Yeah, that's
good news for us to see him perform at the level he is. And
then Tony Gaples, man, I'll tell you, after missing 6 races essentially, 2 full events, and having 7 procedures that involved both eyes, for him to come back like he did. And what a run he put together.
Yeah, and look at the gap.
Yeah.
And we talk about Michael Dinan's dominance. Tony Gaples only 5 seconds behind after 50 minutes of racing.
That was a pretty strong run. Then Paul Terry completing the podium. Burton and Courtney, the top 5. Quinlan and Jason Bell, the top 7, with Hall Gannett and Clennon not getting the start. So an absolutely amazing weekend triple header of racing here at Road America has come to its close. And the next round of the championship, Circuit of the Americas, another world-class facility. And looking forward to some great racing for there. We do hope you join us. For Calvin Fish and Ryan Marine, I'm Greg Creamer. Thank you so much for joining us all weekend here at America's National Park of Speed.